Hello, my name is Kevin Connor. I'm the Curriculum and Instructional Technology Coordinator for Allegheny Intermediate Unit, and I am pleased to be a presenter for the first ever Canvas User Conference at Allegheny Intermediate Unit. My topic today is Be a Change Agent with Canvas in your classroom. I have been a user of Canvas for probably close to 8 years now, and recently acquired my Canvas Certified Educator certification. So pretty happy with doing that and happy to be part of this conference. So now let's dig into this topic. Now, if we were together face to face, I would have a poll here, and I would ask you for your answers to this question. What would you say has the highest impact on learning in your classroom? Now, given that we're not together, I'm going to go by responses I've received previously. And these responses might match up with yours. They seem to come out pretty frequently, so let's just quickly review. A lot of folks point to homework. Some point to things about the students, like their socioeconomic status, the fact that maybe they have poor nutrition, or they rely on the school for their nutrition. Others will include support or lack thereof from parents. Some talk about the lack of classroom aids for help with students with special needs. Others talk about the policies within their district or organization. Some talk about the need for more professional development, and finally, often technology was pointed out as one of the things that has the highest impact on learning in the classroom. During the past few years, with the pandemic, we have seen a huge infusion of technology into the classroom, probably the silver lining, if there is any, in this situation. So, having technology for every student and every teacher allows us to do things with that technology that weren't possible before. One of them is using a learning management system. So, these might have been your answers. You might have had similar ones. Maybe you had something else in your mind. But what we're going to do now is look at what research has shown to have the highest impact on learning. And you can see in this graphic that those items that are in blue have a very high effect size, and meaning a high impact. Those in the red are items that are often pointed to, but turn out after looking at studies in classrooms that these have much less impact. So there's homework, class size, learning styles, teacher education, even time on task. So what has more impact? Well, we're going to look at these. Everything from mastery learning to self-reported grades. The research that this is based on was conducted by a person named John Hattie, and his research group also organized these effects in what he calls the barometer of influence. And so you can see all the way from the red, which actually shows negative effects, all the way to the blue on the far right, which is that zone of desired effects, that there are things that we might think have a bigger impact that don't, and some things have much higher impact that we might take for granted or don't think about that frequently. So who is John Hattie? Well, he is a New Zealander who's now based in Australia. He's an educational researcher. And what John Hattie has done is assembled a database of what are called meta-analyses. A meta-analysis is combining similar research studies into a meta-group. Now, so that means right now he has this database of 1,400 meta-analyses, which means that inside that are 70,000 studies. Those 70,000 studies were conducted on over 300 million students. This number just continues to grow. But it is amazing to think about, and he has assembled the largest educational research study ever conducted. Now, one of the findings that comes out of his work is what he terms visible learning. And I just want to draw your eye to the second sentence there. According to Hattie, visible teaching and learning occurs when teachers see learning through the eyes of students and help them become their own teachers. We're going to see how that can work within Canvas. So, how can we achieve these desired effects? Well, one of the ones you saw there was called self-reported grades. Now, this doesn't mean you give everyone the quiz and they tell you what they got on it. It's really about helping a student set an expectation for themselves. And the research shows that if a student believes they can do better, they will. So, in Canvas, there is this tool that is built in. Doesn't require any special interaction on your part as a teacher, and it's called the What If. So we're going to watch a video that very quickly explains how what if grades work.
So one of the other things I know students are concerned, you've gotten several grades, but we're getting closer to the end. There's several assignments and exams you still have to do, and you're wondering where you're going to fall overall, A, B, C, in terms of your grade. Well, Canvas has a really neat feature. So if you go to your grade book, and your instructor has set up what are called grading groups, or assignment groups, which is essentially where they can set assignments and exams into certain groups that have distinct weights. You, the student, can then actually use the grade book to your advantage. So, notice right now it's telling me I have a total of 84% based off of the weights of these and the scores I've previously obtained for some of these assignments and exams. Well, Canvas offers what are called what-if grades. So you'll notice right now I have an 84. And let's say that I'm a student who really wants to try as hard as I can to get an A. I might say, okay, well, I got the 70, I'm not happy with that. What would I need to make on the remainder of my assignments and exams to pull this up to an A? And so what you can literally do is jump into each assignment and exam here that you don't have a grade for and type in a what-if grade. What if I got an 85 on this? How would that affect my overall average? What if I got a 100 on the final and the midterm? How would that affect my average? Oh, that gives me a 90.33. Okay. What if I made a 95 there? An 89.33, that would only get me a B. And so by doing this, you can essentially test and attempt to determine what you would need to do to get a specific grade in your course. And those are called what-if grades. At any point in time, if you want to revert back to your actual scores, you simply click here, and it reverts you back to your original scores.
The next effect is called response to intervention. And you know that there are the needs to intervene with individual students who may be struggling with the material. They may be in that middle group, they're doing okay, but you want to make sure they're understanding the content. And then you've got students at that upper level, they're getting the content easily. So how do you manage that? Well, in Canvas, there is a tool called Mastery Paths. And what happens is you build your module and then you can differentiate it for different students. So we're going to take a look at that. This is a screenshot of a module I set up, and because it's wider, I've cut it in half. But you will see I've got the red circle around the word Mastery Paths. So we're going to look at what that actually entails. So here we are in Canvas, and I've got my module called Choosing Career Paths for 8th grade students. I based this off of the Pennsylvania Career Readiness Standards. So what's going to happen here is I've got my module, and the idea is that students will explore careers. The way we've got this set up is a number of activities that students can take advantage of, but we're going to start with a sort of a pre-screening quiz called the Career Pathways Quiz. Now, I will show you what this looks like from the teacher side, and then we'll quickly look at what happens on the student side. So you notice here for the quiz, there's the word Mastery Paths. And then for each of the activities, you'll notice these bubbles, and they show a point range or they say the word multiple. And I'll show you what that means. So we'll go in here to the quiz, and after I've set up my quiz, what happens is the Mastery Paths tool builds a range, and we could change these scores. If you thought that 14 points was too low for a high achieving score, you could move it up or you could move it down. But you can see, so if your student does pretty well on the exam, they probably have a pretty good prior knowledge of careers, so we might want to move them into something where they might do a research paper on a particular career, or maybe even give them a little creativity and create a career vision board. If they are somewhere in the middle, maybe we'll have them do these activities. And then if they struggled with the exam, we're going to give them multiple activities so that they gain a better understanding of the content. Now, here's a really cool thing about this. Notice down here for the students who didn't do so well. In between each activity, you can click on the box and it will say, do the career vision board and what's your learning style. I could even change this one, and in this case the students would have to complete all 4 activities to complete the module, whereas again students at the top would only have to do one or another. Okay, so let's look at what that means. We're going to look at it from the student view now. So here we go. We are now acting as a student, and we'll take the quiz. I will purposely answer these incorrectly so that we can see what happens. Just picking wrong answers so that we can finish the quiz. All right, I finish, I submit my answers, and the system tells me I only got 5 out of 20 points. And so I have set it up so the student can see the correct and incorrect answers. And then we'll go to next. And now, because I have the mastery path set up, it will take me to these activities. This was the first one. What's your learning style? Okay. We'll leave the student view here. Okay, so that gave you a feel for mastery paths. That topic is going to come back one more time. Now, here's another that had a fairly large effect: providing formative evaluation, formative assessment. I know you do this on a regular basis. This is how you structure your lessons and your units. So remember that all of these tools are built into Canvas. So creating assignments, creating discussions, quizzes, and also something that I hope you're taking advantage of, which is called the Learning Tools Interoperability. We'll look at what that means and how that works in a moment. But formative assessment is so key, and Hattie actually points out a different way of looking at it, that it's really to evaluate the effect of your teaching on your students' learning. I don't think often we think of that in that manner. I think we tend to look at it more as, did the student understand? But this really helps me reflect on, was I able to help my students understand? So now, getting back to the learning tools interoperability, just a little side trip here. What happens within an LMS is it can have a connection to all those tools you're used to using probably before you had an LMS. But the advantage is this is an agreed upon standard, so that you can have your students stay in the LMS and still take them out to different resources. And it retains your rosters and it retains your grade book. So when they do something in another tool, often you can import those grades right into your Canvas course grade book. And as I click here and show you some of the learning tools that you can take advantage of if you aren't already, I'm sure you're most likely either from a Google school or a Microsoft Office school. Math and science teachers probably are fairly familiar with PhET simulations. These are interactive simulations that can demonstrate topics in math and science. There's also Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is a web tool that allows you to add interactive questions to your videos. They can be yours, or they could be from YouTube or other sources like that. And then one of my favorite tools is called Nearpod. Nearpod is a presentation platform that also has a number of rich resources that can be shared within that presentation, along with assessment right in the presentation, and things like virtual reality field trips, video, any number of great things are available within Nearpod. But these LTIs can be so good to include in your courses so that students get a variety of experiences and stay engaged, and you never know when a student might understand material better because of the way it was presented. Another effect was acceleration. We know there are students who want to move ahead. We want to avoid them becoming bored with the material. So when you have a module, you can add additional materials there that maybe not every student is going to see. And the way you can make that happen is to use the availability dates feature. So let's say I have 10 things in my module. I want everyone to do the first 6. Okay? And I'm thinking that to do those first 6, it might take 2 weeks. Now what I can do is, for the other 4 out of my 10, I can set the availability date for the second week, so that the students who are cruising through the material on the second week, they can go into enrichment or expansion activities. and then everybody finishes at the end of 2 weeks, and the kids got some acceleration who needed it. Now, we're back to mastery learning. Mastery learning is not only just for learning intervention, but it is truly an approach to how we teach and learn. And so we can use that tool of modules again, but we can combine it with the mastery paths so that students don't all have to finish at the same time. And I've heard it explained this way, where instead of thinking about A, B, C, D, we think about A, B, and not ready. So you can have that student go through that mastery path so that if it takes them a little bit longer, it's not a problem. When they're ready for the exam, because they've mastered the content, they take it, and they probably will end up with an A or a B. But at least you know you've provided the right amount of material for those students. You know, here's another thought from Hattie that I think is so key, and I'll just let you read that. Now, another effect that was listed was reciprocal teaching, the idea, and again, flashing back to Hattie's first thought about teaching where you make students their own teachers. This is how you can do it within Canvas. We can create collaborations, we can create discussions, we can create groups, and something you might not think about, you can actually create pages and allow students to edit some of those. For instance, let's say you have students working in groups and it's a week before the quiz. You could have pages created for them so that group A, B, C, D could each work together and create their own study guide for the upcoming exam. And in the collaborations and discussions, don't forget, again, because you've got those inner LTI tools, you can collaborate within Canvas, or you can also create collaborative slides, for instance, with using Google Slides, and have a groups of your students working that way. Lots and lots of rich ways to do that. So, in conclusion, this is powerful. So Hattie says, the success or failure of my students' learning is about what I do or don't do. I am a change agent. I firmly believe that. I know that you are change agents, and I believe if you take advantage of the tools within Canvas LMS, you'll be an even more powerful and effective change agent. Again, my name is Kevin Connor. This has been Be a Change Agent with Canvas in Your Classroom. Thank you.